Hello, good people. Welcome to the Small But Massive podcast. This is a short series of 6 podcasts capturing voices from the Sperrins. My guests were Anne McAllister, Ollie McGuigan, Hugh McKenna, Paddy Gray, Lawrence O'Keefe and Damien Hearn. All well-known people in the local community. These people were involved in music, dance, filmmaking, the arts and business. All things that Glasgowbury is doing now in the Corn Store Creative Hub. So check it out, good people. Thanks to the Department of Communities, Arts, Culture and Heritage Fund for supporting the making of this series. Hugh McKenna, you're welcome to the Small But Massive podcast. You're a father, brother, school friend and Irish dancing teacher. Thanks for coming along. I should say all round nice dude. We've known each other a long time. I think I said friend on there. I'll say friend again with an echo.
I would just say how long.
You're welcome. So Hugh, we're doing a few community podcasts and we're, I suppose, taking in leaders from the area that would be leading in different fields. So we've different people coming in and telling their stories. People from the past that you'll know. And then there's people like your good self, who is an Irish dancing teacher. You come from a family of 7. Colm, your big brother, rest in peace, Colm, is not with us anymore. Barry, Malachy, Jared, and then Q, named after your father, but like myself.
Named after your father.
Named after father. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it must have been at that time,
I think it must have been. It must have been the norm.
That's what you did. That's how.
They must have just
run out of names and say, "No, I'll just come after myself."
They must have looked into the. Tell you what, that looks like a Q. That looks like a Paddy.
Yeah, he's got a face that looks like me. Or he's got head up.
But you know what? You do look like your father and mother as well, and I suppose, and some would say I look like my father as well. So going back to you went to St Mary's. So when would you have first started Irish dancing? Because I was in your class, right, and I think it was really young. You know what I mean?
I started. I think went to my first class when I was about 3 or 4. So did, and obviously to Seamus Kerrigan here in Riverdance, because my mother had danced.
Oh, I didn't know that. Kid.
Yeah, she danced for Seamus Kerrigan. That obviously nothing major, and then my father's side of the family, he had an aunt that taught Irish dancing somewhere, I don't know where.
Yeah.
So it was in both sides of the family.
So it's in the blood. It was connected.
It was in the blood, and I say Colm had started dancing as well.
I remember Colm dancing. Yeah,
he danced, and then I was sent. Then the other brothers, when they came along, Barry, Malachy and Jared, they went.
So the whole family then was steeped in Irish traditional.
And I think it was more like the saying because of the friendship my mother and father had with Seamus Kerrigan.
Yeah.
My father worked with Seamus Kerrigan in the furniture business as well, so I think that tied everything in.
Yeah, so the connection was there from earlier on.
Yeah.
And so when you were in, say, around that time in the likes of... with Mr. Kerrigan in the dance, so would that same time with the likes of Una McGuigan and Patricia McSwiggan, School of Dance would have been there.
They were both there at that time, both taught by Seamus Kerrigan. Una, I think, actually was taught maybe by Marie Bard at the time, and then she had her daughter Patricia.
Yeah,
danced then for Seamus Kerrigan. Patricia McSwiggan, God rest her, she was taught by Seamus Kerrigan as well.
Deadly. So Mr. Kerrigan kind of had a conveyor belt of talent always
total
coming
conveyor
through.
Belt.
And at that time then, Q, I suppose with all them teachers, would they all been teaching the same style, or would there have been a certain style you had to follow in them days, or would it have been people trying things different or anything?
Because there was 2 organisations.
Yeah.
And the Irish dance.
So just for people out there, would you say the 2 organisations?
I'm a member of the Ancogel, and then Patricia McSwiggan, she was a member of Commission, so she was, and there was no real difference in style at that time. It was just 2 organisations that split in 1969.
Wow!
So that.
And what was the story behind that? Q?
I think it was because it had something to do with the Gaelic League. Yeah. That was the Gaelic League seemed to be in charge of Irish dancing at that time.
Yeah.
The whole lot, and the depth of it I don't really know. But then there was a group of teachers that decided that it wasn't going the right direction for them, so they broke away, and then so they formed a new organisation called Ancogel. Nowadays there's about maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 organisations.
Jeez.
So there is.
So it's got really huge.
Oh, it's huge. It is actually very big now. The north of Ireland would be very strong with Ancogel.
That's your...
Yeah, that's the organisation I'm in. And not maybe as big a numbers in the commission as we would have.
Yes.
So there's.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, standard wise now and styles, there's not really much difference in styles.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing as the other organisations are doing. Everything
Yeah.
else. The only thing about the commission would be globally they're bigger.
Yeah.
But we are growing now. So
Yeah. So what you're saying is, what would have been one time one organisation going on and getting the sponsorship and the growth and all that there, your organisation now is starting to grow and look as if it can compete.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have a world championship
Brilliant.
from 2012.
Because I met you in the shop and you were going to that, you were talking
Right.
about it. And,
so that was a big thing for us. So it is. Now,
Yeah.
we do have dancers that come from America to it. We have dancers, we have branches of our organisation in like Japan, Israel, Australia.
Amazing.
So it is growing, which is great.
So, right, so you were there and so going from primary school, your first competitions then, Q, you know, like how would that all, what age were you then? Like,
I think my first competition was when I was 7. Because when I was up in my mother's house there a couple of weeks ago and I came across a photograph of me getting half of my photograph taken at the Fish, and I think it was Fish Crinihan, which was the South Dairy Fish that we have here in Riverdance.
That was a big thing at the time.
That was the big, major thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was even big at long even before I was dancing and stuff like that there. It used to take part outdoors, and it should have been Regan's Field and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that would have been my first Fish, what I'd say was...
So was it
Fish
in
Crinihan.
Regan's Field whenever you first...
No.
That was back in the day.
That was back in the day. I'd used Regan's Field and the grounds of St. Column's High School.
Wow.
So it is.
Was that for that? Because that many people wanted to see it, Q?
I think it was, and plus the fact I think the weather was actually better back then for them. Like
well, we should say to people out there listening to this podcast, old friend, that I took you away from the hottest day of the year so far.
I know, and I come with a pair of jeans on me.
You were actually chatting to me and saying I was already lurched back, Paddy, but I found it a bit breezy.
I would do the breeze, like I just like still. But yes, so I think it moved in, and obviously indoors then. So it did.
Did it get more controlled then, and more people maybe wanted to get involved?
I think more people wanted to get involved in it, and again, it was run by a committee, and stuff, and the parish priests at the time. And going back, I remember like at the time when I was younger, dancing would have been Father Deary, would have been in charge, so he would have been the patron of the Fish.
Yeah.
So he did. So that was my very earliest recollection of the Fish, and my competition, and then it went from there. And I think I was actually maybe 9 when I danced at my first Ulster championship, which was a big major.
So you even then, it's still at primary school, you were entering the Ulster championship,
Yes.
which people should know out there. You have to go through the dairy fish, don't you?
You
and
have
all
to
these
dance
different
stuff like that. There. Yeah,
straight through to get to the final.
Get to the Ulster.
And that's sort of like, you know, the big fish have been held up in the school, you know, with all the dancing, there was all the
and the choirs and singers and stuff. Yeah,
was that sort of part of that?
It was actually a smaller part of Fish Dara Column Kiln, which was held in Derry City in the Guildhall. So it is, and it was a kind of break off from that because some of the ones I think, like God rest, I think it was Ethna Keane, was involved in the dairy part, and I think maybe they brought it down at that time. So they had the choirs, they had the singing and all that stuff. Like yourself, we would have sang at the Fish.
Yeah, we did.
So we did. Like we were great singers too. Like, we were. Well, I wasn't, but you definitely were.
I won. I was talking to Anne McAllister about. Thank you very much.
I know. All I got was a silver medal for second. Like that's like that. No,
all I got from the judge was he can sing, but he needs to stand still.
Well, at those times you would have been a wee bit of a sway, like.
Aye, but Q, just for people out there, I suppose, young people, to be thrown into them competitions, like you get it all worked up. Did you get worked up in a sense, or
at that?
Or did you just go at that age?
You just went. And I just
that's right.
You
just done
and
it.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But as I got older, like we would go into like every competition that I would have went to at any weekend. The boys always danced against the girls. There was never any separation in that. The only time you would have had a separation was when you went to the Ulster Championship or the All-Ireland Championship because they had a boys' competition and the girls, obviously because the numbers were bigger. But no, nerves never really got the better of me. I think maybe when I got to my first All-Ireland, so it was. I was a bit nervous.
When you went into St. Columns, right, were you sort of competing in the All-Ireland in St. Columns when you were still in St. Columns?
Yes.
Well, that's an amazing thing.
And it was out of my, because like, go to St. Columns, what, about 11?
Yeah.
So my first All-Ireland, I would have been dancing under 13.
Under 13.
So I would have been out of my age group.
Yeah.
So it would have been. And that was a big thing
as
well, because you're stepping from your own age group into a double age group.
And the competition and the standard?
And the competition and the standard.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
And, but it was, It was just a thing I did. I just went around every weekend. I went to a fish. My mother brought me to a fish where it would be local or Oma, Dungannon or wherever.
You got great support then from your family.
Oh, they brought me. Yeah, they brought me all the time. So
and that's all because you're saying every weekend. It's like it's just like you're out. You're
that could have been a Saturday and a Sunday.
So
it could have been.
And so was that I suppose for you when you were in them competitions, because I remember you at St. Columns and. There would be times, it was like you had the cloak of love and light. You just slipped away, and you were from maybe fourth year. You were helping Mr. Kerrigan.
That's right. I would wait. Yeah, because I
was quite jealous of you.
I was out there, like. Yeah.
Sometimes I'd meet you outside the door, as you know.
Some days we didn't even see the door. But no, I went to because Seamus Kerrigan had asked, would I? Obviously, the principal thing with Tom Maguire at the time.
That's right.
Would I be able to get out earlier? So it was always lunchtime on a Monday.
Yeah.
I would have got out to go to teach with him in Markerfeld.
Master Maguire must have been all right with that.
He was fine with that.
But that's what your goal was. You wanted to do that.
And I think he had known that as well because like my school academic days were just not the best.
I sat beside you, so I know.
You know exactly.
Yeah. But and so the likes of in the All Ireland you were mentioning there. So you go to the All Ireland and you've got the best of. You were chatting earlier on there about people coming in from America and people coming in from all. And what age were you then when you first lifted your first All Ireland?
I was every year. My first All Ireland when I was 11, I was runner up until I was 18, and I won my first All Ireland when I was 18.
And was it the same people over?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, there was a boy. There was a couple of years. There was a boy out of Seamus Kerrigan's class from Oma, so it was who would have won.
And did he become a teacher, Q?
No, he didn't go on to be a teacher. But a lot of the boys actually didn't.
Yeah,
carry it through, but it was every year, and it was when I was getting in about 14, 15, I thought I can't be bothered with this anymore. I said, what's the point? Because I'm getting second. But I wanted to leave. Then I wasn't allowed to leave, obviously, because Mel said you're too good to be leaving. So whatever.
Yeah,
so I kept with it.
That was just, I suppose, for you, that was just a stumbling block for them. But you had to keep, like, what people should know out there. You stuck at it and showing Q that if you stick at something and you keep at it and just keep at it. You often see about athletes that return to the Olympics over and over again. And then bang, it just happens. Yeah. And it's like at the minute, as you say, you love tennis. The tennis is on. Something could just happen.
Yeah.
And that's. But
I know. I even know that through teaching. Like kids in my class who are good dancers. But the question is, then they'd be deflated whenever else and blah, blah. And I said, look, that's just one day. I said, the next day could be completely different. I said, but keep going. I said, if you give up at this stage in your life where you're kind of 13, 14, where I think you're actually very good, you'll regret it down the line. So I kept going with it. At that stage, before I had won my first All Ireland, I had already won about 3 or 4 Ulster titles.
Yeah. So and that's very competitive as well, I'd imagine.
It was very competitive. It was actually more competitive than what the All Ireland was, because the standard was always better in the north of Ireland.
There you go.
So it was.
That's interesting, Cian. Why would that have been?
I think
we try harder. Or what?
I think because dancing was obviously continuing on through the Troubles.
Yeah.
And stuff. So the north.
It was something to focus on.
It was something to focus on.
Like sport,
it was something
like the hurling and the Gaelic and
it was something to give the kids something to do.
Yeah.
In an evening. So they kept those teachers at that time kept it going. So I think it was just a drive in them.
Yes.
To say, well, look, we've overcome this.
Yeah.
So you can overcome something else as well.
That's a really good motto, and showing that, and you always had that in your mind then, obviously. So whenever, come back to Mr. Kerrigan, I didn't know that he taught all the teachers. That was very interesting. So what was Mr. I know you might know, but maybe your father would know more, but what was Mr. Kerrigan's story when he arrived? Being the first innovator of Irish dancing and Ballinascreen, it must have been at the start, a hard game
hard
to start,
to get in.
Do you know what I mean,
yeah.
Q?
Because he came from Donegal.
Yeah.
So that's where he was born, and it was Castlefin. So he was teaching in Oma at that stage of his life. Then he came to Draperstown with the father, and that because the father was a manager of a shirt factory in Clady Corner. And then
his father was?
Yeah.
So
he was. Then Mr. Kerrigan became the manager of Burns' factory. In the town.
In the town, yeah. I didn't
know
that.
My mother worked in Burns' factory.
There you go.
It was underneath him and everything else.
There you go. So that friendship with your family was right from the start.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
So it was.
And so whenever he started off back then, who guided him? You mentioned the priests earlier on. Would it, you know,
well,
he was been before Father, maybe Father McGlinchey, Nogky, or would it have been before
probably?
that?
Yeah, I would say so. He was taught by a woman, Nellie Sweeney, and I don't know even how he can come into dancing or how he even ended up teaching. Well, obviously teaching Irish dancing here in Riverdance because he came to manage a shirt factory.
Yeah.
But when he came, like, he had a kind of a hassle because that's what he was teaching throughout the years, whatever else, and blah, blah, blah. Then you had the 2 dancing schools in Riverdance. You had Patricia McSwiggan and you had Seamus Kerrigan, who had very little numbers at the time because anybody that went to dancing went to Patricia McSwiggan because it was after school, which was handier.
Yeah.
Or his dancing was in the evening time and stuff like that there.
For people, and maybe there wasn't that much transport then to your
No, there wouldn't have been. And it was like, obviously, it was the class was in the Hib Hall.
Yeah.
So it was. So even people from Moykeer and that would have to maybe walk. They wouldn't have any transport.
yeah.
So it was handy to stay in school, go to school, go to dance class, go home.
Activate that interest in the craft queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he was, I think he was a tough taskmaster, and he was really one of the tough ones.
Was he?
Oh, he was. He didn't take any prisoners. Like,
yeah, because I suppose he recognised talent in yourself, and he wanted you to get to that highest standard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not unlike, I suppose, they say about bands on the road doing 10,000 hours, and then all of a sudden they get really good at it and know what it takes. And you knew what it took. And
well, you would know, Paddy, even through the music and stuff like that. Okay, you go to a lesson.
Yeah.
But you don't go home and do nothing until you come to the lesson the next day. You have to put that work in at home.
That's right.
So it's like, as I always say to my dancers, if you're given homework at school, you have to do it when you go home for the next day.
That's right.
So you have to practice for me for the next day. Right. You might have another class in 2 days' time. So
that's
right. Like anything.
And you noticed that, Q?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I was a real disciplinarian, and I did practice. Like, I mean, I remember my neighbours were probably giving off and shouting because I had music blaring in my house and the shoes coming through walls and stuff like that. You know
it was like
a
machine gun about you. You get that good, it'd be like a machine gun. It was that fast, wasn't it?
I remember one night I was down at a function in Reagan's years and years and years ago, and I was dancing, whatever, and this man came up and says, God, Fred Astaire's nothing. And I thought, Christ, I didn't know Fred Astaire had great feet now. So he could drill like a machine gun. But it was, and it takes an awful lot of work.
And what about injuries then, you know, Q? What kind of injuries would dancers?
Touch wood, Paddy, I never had an injury.
You were doing it right.
I was one of the lucky ones.
But you were doing it right.
I was doing it right.
Aye.
But there's an awful lot of injuries, I'd say, in the last 10, 15 years that I have noticed with dancers. And I blame it for being too flexible, you know, because like when I danced, you went to a class, you put your shoes on. Do you mean
flexible, maybe too loose?
They're limited. I think they're too loose because they're doing all these exercises and all this. And yes, and they are like, when you get to a world championship standard, you have to be good. You
like
have
an
to
athlete.
Be limbered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're an athlete.
Yeah.
But it's my days, you went into class, you got your shoes on, you were told to get out on the floor and you danced. And that was it. There was no warm up. There was no cool down.
Yeah,
none of that. Now,
like sports days, old days, just
you just got the shorts and the trainers on you, and away you went.
Ran.
You know what I mean? And you came last, like I did. But it's from my days, even in my early days of teaching till now, it's changed a bit.
And Q, would maybe a silly question, but would that involve diets and all now for people?
Some of them go into diets.
Yeah.
So they do. Some of I know I have friends of mine whose kids dance with in commission. And no, you're not allowed to eat that. No, you can't eat that. They go to class. The teacher says you can't eat that and stuff. To me, it's...
In your days, you'd have been raving and all been fuzzy drinks and sweets and chews and bonbons. And
Paddy, burgers and everything else in the face. Like, do you know what I mean? Chips.
I know.
And there was nothing off it, and there was nothing said to you.
Because that was of its time.
Yeah, that was off its time then. But now, because it's got so expensive.
Yeah.
And like for costumes and stuff, like people are going into big money. So I think, well, if you're going to be, if you have the talent, you're not going to be stuffing yourself in sweets before you go to the competition. So you can understand that.
And so going back there, that was something that was always very, I suppose, flamboyant. It was the costumes. And so you would have you were a multi-champion yourself, which is a credit to the area, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And you now would have a lot of young ones. Have you got champions within that queue now since you... Like, when did you start? When did you take over the business? So say you were like... You know,
I qualified as a teacher when I was 21. And I went straight in. I had a couple of classes established before I finished my exam.
Well, you had 17 years of dancing before then. You started at 4.
That's right.
So
yeah.
there you
so
go.
I competed up until I was 20, and I was studying for my exam then at the same time. So I actually just went straight into dancing. I helped Seamus Kerrigan as well, as I said. So my school then actually kind of went 30 years this year, so I was 21. So yeah, but I have.
Are you having a big party?
I'm having no party. I had a party for my 25th year, so that coincided with the World Championship. But I was very lucky. Like I won 8 Ulster titles in a row.
Wow.
And 4 All Ireland titles.
Wow.
Then, to date, my class I have had 25 world titles.
If you were in the military, you'd be head of the military. With all them, you would be.
I'd be pure Hitler.
That's totally amazing. And I mean, even going back to your mama, you were saying in the house, I'm sure they're proud as anything. You know, you've got a son there, and they've got.
Absolutely.
Your mother has took you to them far-flung places with snow probably falling, ice.
I remember coming from Derryfish one year and coming over the mountain from Derryfish, and I had just won a championship, and I was just 16 at the time, and I actually was just to turn 17.
Yeah.
And I had a dance in seniors, and I'm going, my God, this is a big jump up, because seniors went right up to 20. But I won the competition, and I actually beat the Commission World Champion, and that was glee and everything else. So I got this massive big cup. So nothing would do that I would hold this cup when we were going home in the car. My mother was driving. Couldn't see her fingers in front of us coming over the mountain in fog.
Oh, Jesus.
I had to stick my head out to tell her where the verge was. So we went out in all weathers. You know, there was actually no stopping anybody.
But the commitment was there.
You have to, like anything, you have to have the commitment.
And going back then, Q, there'd be, you mentioned far-flung halls, and I know what you mean by that, and cold halls and warm halls and whatever else. So what's the kind of structure now for, say, a young kid, just say we Mary and John just start off, what's their path to, where you got to, or does it, I know it takes a lot of years, but where would their competitions be, or do you run them yourself?
We do, for beginners and stuff. We have, like, as I say, going back years, everybody just danced in the one category.
Yeah.
It was all called open.
Yeah.
But now we have beginner A's, then you progress from that to B, and then you can go to C, and then you go to pre-open, and then you go to open. So there's 5 sections. So we have it for beginners with maybe 2 dances. So I'm running a face here now down the back row now on the 10th and 11th of July.
Deadly.
I haven't got beginners in because with the COVID restrictions, I'm not allowed.
And is it hard, Q, to set up with all going on now and trying to, I'm sure you're
to
like
run a face,
ourselves.
to run a competition. This is the first competition in the north since February 2020.
So you're a trailblazer.
So and everything's on to me, and it's a nightmare. It's not a nightmare because I'm used to setting up fashion and stuff like that. There, we just have to do it differently because we're limited.
You're only allowed
to
so many people.
And at any one session, so we have to have all the hand sanitizer and all just the usual stuff.
Like we have in now,
And so it is kind of a nightmare, but and I think it's a great test because there's almost 500 dancers entered from the north, the south, England and Scotland. That's
amazing.
So there's the demand's there for competition.
Yeah.
People want to get out.
People have been starved, Q.
They've been starved, and I've been saying a long time, Irish dancing at the art form is going to die if it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to bring it back so we can run competitions.
And what's your thinking on that, Q? What do you think needs to happen to, what do people need? Do people, because you're a great speaker and you're passionate about it, I can pick that up. Do the teachers need to come out, and do they need to make awareness? Or
teachers need to come. There's a lot of things involved in Irish dancing that puts a lot of people off sending their children to nowadays. One being the prices. If the kids be good, they have to get a costume.
Yeah.
But costumes are expensive.
What kind of price would they be, Q?
Well, there was ones we were talking the other day, friends of mine, dancing teachers, and we were talking that anywhere up to £2,000. That would last you 6 or 7 months.
No way, Q.
Yeah. Shoes. My son dances. I had to get him 2
Is he the next Q?
He's a bit laxy-daisy on it. He is good. Like he got 4th at the World Championships there in 2018.
That's deadly.
But his shoes are, for one pair, is £140.
Wow. And they specially built somewhere. Is there somebody has a hold in all that, Q?
There's a couple of shoemakers.
Yeah.
You have Fays, I think they're Dublin based.
Yeah.
And some are there's another one. Can't remember who that. But they bring out all these brands. They bring out different names, like there's Storms and stuff. I haven't a clue. People, kids and parents in my class say, "What kind of shoes do you think I should get for the better sound?" And my answer always back to them, I says, "You see if you can hit the floor in an ordinary pair of shoes and get sound out."
You were wearing guddies and still making clips.
There was, but it's just that puts a lot of people off sending kids to class now.
And does just then you look over. You were mentioning earlier on about the other world. The people, the commission. So you're talking then about countries that would be maybe would have a lot of money. America, for instance. So because I remember seeing a program, I don't know if it was an RT about the dresses and the wee diamonds and different things. They put on, and that they sort of treat it as like. I suppose they're used to that dressing up as the kids grow up, the different things, and so. Does that there, when that there was happening, obviously yous have had to go with the times. So you've just said there, yous have to now look at the dresses that are good, supposed to compete with Asians. Does that leave it, as you say there, hard for people to get into? Is there maybe a way that being a sort of a cultural expression thing, i.e. Irish dancing, something that maybe the government could come in and look at, and maybe support areas like this?
I think they tried down south for getting government... not approval, but something to get involved.
So that to support it, I'm just, you know what I mean?
And I know, like us as an organisation in Kogel, we took the initiative a way back that kids from the age of 5, or say 4, whatever age you are, till I think it's 9, are not allowed to wear the fancy costumes.
That's a good
thing.
They
have to wear their class costume, which is normally a plain simple dress.
That's good.
Or you have to wear a skater's type skirt, we polo top or something like that there.
Yeah,
for
the
beginners.
old style, Q.
Old style, it used to be.
Because you used to wear like a waistcoat and a nice shirt.
I had a waistcoat,
trousers,
then I had a jacket. And
then you had a kilt too, hadn't you?
I had the kilt.
Aye.
I always danced in the kilt. Yeah. Trousers came in 96. So that's
bring back the kilt, you reckon?
I always did that.
Aye. Was it more flowing? Obviously it was,
it was more flowing. And plus the fact, if you're wearing a pair of trousers, it can hide multitudes. I mean, if you have a bad shape of a leg, it can cover it. That kind of way.
So because like you are adjudicator now. Yeah. So when you're just talking in that there, obviously then people have to have a certain stance. Yeah. And their leg has to be a certain way. Yeah. So so the trousers are now bluffer that
they can be. If you have a pair of black trousers on you and a black background, you're covered, you're fine. But if you have a white background at the back and then you have that bit of a space in your knees or something.
And are you looking at straight all the time? For people out there, say, listening to this Q, that they're dancing and you're adjudicator, what should they watch for? What are you looking for?
Well, the first thing that I would look for an adjudicator and say, as a dancer, as an adjudicator, and I'm sure any other adjudicator would be the same, timing. Because we have to dance in time to music that's been played.
All movement is timing, isn't
it?
Exactly,
absolutely. Yeah. That would be number one with me. Then you have your carriage. Like we Irish dancers are renowned for their hands down by their sides and stuff like that. They're not allowed to move. Crossing off the feet, the turned out feet. So there is on your toes. And then when it gets to like say World Championship level or even Ulster level or even a face on an ordinary Sunday, like that would have good competition. It's a personal choice thing at the end of the day. Yeah. If you have a set amount of people that are at the same standard and you say, no, I just liked her. She just gave me that wee bit of extra or something.
You've seen something.
I've seen something. Yeah. Or else, no, I like that other one, but her elbow just came out when she did that jump. So you're marked down for that. That kind of way. So, and I suppose whenever they're in a sense of being adjudicator, is there other adjudicators there too? Or is there just one? There is. Years ago, going back to when I was dancing, there was one judge and there was one floor, stage. Now, up until the pandemic, I ran a face in October and I would have had 4 floors going at the one time in one hall.
That's mad.
And maybe one floor going in another hall. So I would have an amount of 5 judges.
So you have different rooms, you mean?
Yeah,
sort of.
It's got to that stage where the numbers have been that big now.
That's amazing. So basically, for instance, if you end up we'll just use St. Collins as an example, you would be in the classrooms. Just in the hall. In the hall
with 2 floors going at the same time.
Oh, get you.
Side by side.
Get you. And so people then coming to them competitions, how do they enter then, Q? Does it come through all the different teachers? Like say you put forward so many and some other teacher puts forward so
normally
many.
on or before pandemic, you just went on the day and you entered on the day.
Yeah.
Now, because of COVID, the fish I'm running, it's pre-entry because we have to cap each number. Mine's just capped at 30 per competition.
Get you.
But forever at Ulster and World, it was pre-entry. Your teacher does.
Yeah.
So it is. But on a normal weekend fish, it's just you just go and pay on the day.
But it's some achievement, I suppose, to start really young like you did and then get the Holy Grail as such, the big one. Do you know? And I'm sure for some of the young kids you're teaching and your own son, it's a goal that he, would look at too.
But he does like dancing. Like he does like dancing. He likes football. He likes hurling and everything else as well. Though he hasn't danced now since September 2019 because he got his kneecap disjointed at school.
No way.
Some boy kicked him in the back of the knee, so that was him out. So he hasn't been back yet. And I was thinking, are you going back? Are you not going back? But he said he wanted to go back. So.
And it's something it's in his blood too.
Yeah.
Well, talking just about speedy feet and all, what's your thinking then on the whole Riverdance and the whole Fleet of Flames? Because I know that the guy in charge of it, I can't pronounce his name right, so it'll come out all wrong. Michael Flatley.
Michael Flathead, I call him. No, Michael Flatley.
So this guy comes along and he obviously comes from Canada, the States, and he there's a bit of music, obviously a great bit of music written for the interval of the European
the Eurovision,
Eurovision. And Bill Whelan was the man who wrote the music.
That's right.
And so what was your thinking when you first seen that there? Because I know that I'm sure going back to Mr. Kerrigan and even yourself in your mind, you could always be thinking, like, could we do a not a play as such, but something that brings everything, because all your dances together, you know what I mean, Q? So what do you think it helped Irish dancing, or did it make it more accessible to the world, or did it help at that time, or did it get more people involved?
It did, because that night that it was on the Eurovision, we were actually at the All Ireland Championships in Dublin, so we didn't see it. So we didn't see it until we went back to where we were staying at, and it was electrifying. Like it was this whole line of dancers and everything else. The only thing that I got that I was a bit not annoyed at, but just said, well, there's bound to be good dancers in Ireland that could have led this dance for 6-7 minutes or whatever length of time it was.
Yeah,
Michael Flatley, yes, he was a world champion and everything else. He's danced with the chief.
Were you aware of him at that?
No, I was not at that. Well,
he's older than you.
He's older than me. I'd heard of him. And I knew he had done stuff with the Chieftains, because I had done stuff with the Chieftains as well, and he had done stuff just prior to what I had done.
So the Chieftains, the band?
Yeah, so I did a couple of tours with them.
Brilliant. Tell us a wee bit about that, Q, then.
It was a friend of mine in Dublin, a girl that I was friendly with, a dancer from on commission, and I had done Coltis tours from 1980. Yeah, Coltis tours 1988 to 89. I did the Great Britain tour, and I did North American tour twice.
Brilliant.
Then I did Russia and North Korea.
What was that like there? Korea,
that's a great place to go if you want to lose weight. So it was. It was really scary.
Was it?
Like
was the food not right for you?
We were there for 2 weeks.
So how did that work?
Was
that through like a government?
It was through RTE.
RTE, yeah.
They were doing. There was a spring festival in North Korea. So all countries over the world came up to Pyongyang, the capital. And so there was a film crew for RT. The program was called Cursey. They came with us and they filmed it and everything else for RT to be shown at a later date.
Brilliant.
It was exciting. Like getting to Russia, first of all, we danced in Red Square.
Brilliant. And who's we? Sorry, Q.
Sorry, there was 3 other dancers from Dublin.
It sounds so exciting.
So it was.
Yeah.
There was 2 sisters, 2 world champions, and another boy, Paul, I can't remember his second name now.
And a multi-All-Ireland champion in yourself.
Myself. But it was great to get asked to go with that.
Yeah.
Like, I love doing the American tours. We did that twice, and I'd say did the Great Britain tour. But
was that with the Chieftains or just?
No, that was with Cultus.
And so how did that work?
After I did the North Korea thing, a friend of mine says, I'm only been contacted by Paddy Maloney. She says, would you fancy going to Milan?
That's amazing, Q.
God, I would sure I would do. So I did that with the Chieftains. Funny story. They're the best people to get on with. And I knew one of the guys in the Chieftains Martin Fay.
Yeah.
He's dead now. His wife is a dance teacher and his son was a dance teacher, and I know them in our organisation, and his daughter. But they never sat beside each other on the coach. They had one and then a space and then a one and a space. That was the whole time. They were funny. They never talked. But when we were at a gig, it was great. So I did that one there, and then I did another one then I think the following year too.
And did you dance on stage with them?
Yeah.
And so
We danced on
were
stage.
they like? Did they just do a lament of Irish
They
songs?
did. It was kind of like an ensemble of reels.
Yeah.
So it was, or
Yeah.
it might have been a jig, depending. So then they would do so many bars themselves, and then we would come in and dance, the two of us together. So
That's amazing. And
it was great, you know.
And like this is something I never knew happened. You know,
A lot of people, because I
gonna-
kept my, I when I was in even in the high school, I would have kept it quite quiet. Now there would have been photographs and stuff of me winning things in the paper. And
Well,
stuff
we
like that.
all knew in the class that you were a champion.
But a lot
you
of
know?
people, I would never have talked about it outside. You know, I just went on
Because
about
you're
my
a
business.
humble man.
Yeah.
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 But that list of achievements, it's a credit
Yeah.
to you. And there's not many people can say that they toured with the Chieftains.
No, and
You
not
know.
many people can say they danced in Red Square in Moscow.
How did that
or
go?
in North Korea.
How did that go then?
It was quite. It was very good because, and it was kind of like.
Was this pre Riverdance and all these things?
That would have been, when did I do that? Yeah, it would have been, because it was 80. I did the coldest tours in 88 and 89, and I did Russia and North Korea in 91.
That's amazing.
So
Kew.
what if-
So you were there. You were the Fleet of Flames. You
I
were the
was the Fleet
fire.
of Flames.
You were the fire from screen.
So
you were
what?
the screen. You were the screen shoes on fire.
I was.
Yeah.
But you talk about North Korea. No, it was weird kind of place, because when we arrived, the whole lot of us said, right, look, there was another hotel. We were based in one hotel, and then we said, right, let's go down to the other hotel where the rest of them are staying. We'll mingle with them people, but from different countries, and there was like a disco on, but music, whatever. We were only in about 5 minutes when the Secret Service came and took us back.
No way, Kew.
We weren't allowed to leave.
No way.
We thought, God, here we go. But very strange food. Their delicacy was dog.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I mean, I didn't eat anything. I mean, we went to one show, and it was away outside the city, and they came with this, put this stuff down in front of me. I said, thank God it's a stew. I had big happy days. I could eat the stew. Ate the whole thing.
What did you think?
Dog.
Was it? Do you think it was a wee poodle?
I thought, I don't know what it was, one of them Labrador things. That have out
Oh my God,
or
they ate
something
my
that.
dog.
Something like that. But that's what it was. And if somebody had a birthday at a meal, you got ice cream. So we were all having our birthdays one day after that. There wasn't a birthdays at all, just to get ice cream.
Just to get something in
It
you.
was there. But
Was there any sweetie shops or anything?
we went to a shop.
Yeah.
We found a shop in the city, and like the shelves were bare. Like there was very little stuff on it. Now we did find dairy milk chocolate.
Aye.
Stuff that they had at that time before we had Pringles, that kind of thing.
Aye.
So I remember sitting outside the shop, opened the big bar of dairy milk chocolate, and it had a beard on it. It was a year out of date.
No way. Was it all show? Do you think just that maybe?
I think it was because
Aye.
they knew the TV cameras were there from each country
Aye.
to perform this, so they were putting stuff on. Probably didn't have the stuff at all.
Aye.
But a lot of the women, they were the ones that did all the work, road work and all that kind of stuff.
No way.
It was just a weird place.
And then you played. You were playing Russia. You were saying, how
Yeah.
did that go? Did the food get better?
A bit better. Well, we had caviar one night. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say cat there.
We did have caviar one, yeah. But you had to watch yourself at that time, because you were sitting and people were coming up and they were like, was it rubies or rubles or whatever it was at that time? You had these guys like black market people, like, and they were looking at it because it was dollars. So
They were trying to sell you stuff. What kind of good stuff were they trying to sell to you?
Well, the gears like bags and purses and stuff like that, the usual, that kind of way.
Aye.
But that was fun. We were only in Russia now for 2 days, so we were. But dancing on Red Square was phenomenal. Like, so it was. Like, it was like, and it's an uneven brick, so it is. So that made it even.
So it was tricky.
It was very tricky.
And was that the same people for the two from
Same,
Dublin?
yeah,
and,
same ones.
and so the likes of touring with the Chieftains, maybe they sat apart because you know what, sometimes bands play that much together.
Together, they want a bit of breathing space.
It's a bit of
But you
breathing.
can understand, yeah.
Because if you had been out, as you say, 6 months. But talking about places like that there, Q, Russia and all, and you mentioned earlier on Australia and the parts of the world. Did you ever think when you were younger at any time, because when we were growing up, there was people heading away to Australia and America and all these places. Did you ever think, I'm really good at this, I'm going to go to X, Y, or Z and have a go? Like, because you were in these countries.
I actually, the first time I went to America, actually just on a holiday, it was in 88. And I wasn't even teaching at that time, I was still competing. And my uncle took me to a fish in Washington, just to watch.
Yeah, you're only 20 then, isn't that right? Yeah.
to watch it and everything else. And it was in a hotel, and there was 5 rooms going at the one time with dancers in each of the rooms, and it was massive. And I said, well, I'd love to move over here, like. And I always, even throughout my whole teaching career, and I still say to this day, I would have loved to have went to America and taught Irish dancing.
And
only for making the money on it.
Because
they pay big money for it in America.
And because they would have big classes, would they?
Some of them would have huge classes. You know, I know a guy who had, I think he had 300 or 350 dancers on his book.
Jeez.
So that's huge. Like, we never had that numbers here.
And that would be however amount of dollars.
And the Americans would pay for it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't care. Like,
because it's got that international.
It is, and because a lot of the Americans obviously have Irish backgrounds.
Yeah.
So they would be into it, they don't care. And so, they travel, they don't care. They fly to classes and stuff like.
From our states.
Of course.
Just go on.
This is huge.
And I suppose, have you ever thought then, maybe, even now, that you've got a lot of contacts around the world, you were talking about all the different, that you'd go out for maybe 6 weeks or 2 months and just not live there, if you know what I mean.
I'd go and live now. If I see if I got someone give me my green card now, I'd be away.
Right, so what we're asking for here in this podcast is, we don't know who's listening, but if the USA State Department's listening, this man is a top Irish dancing teacher and he deserves a green card.
I need a green card to get away.
And just when we're on that, maybe we'll take 2 and I will assist you.
You can come and you can play your music.
I'll play the music, Q will do the dancing. It'll be like a fish in the old days.
Of course, the back of the old days. Like.
So, Q, tell me this. Earlier on you were saying that about bringing Irish dancing, back to the masses. Your Irish dancing, the old style, coming from years and years back. How do you think it is now? Is there interest? Is there so much? Because when we were growing up, old friend, right? So you had the GAA, and and you had Irish dancing, and you had activities wandering around the town.
Yeah.
But now there's so much. Kids can, like, this is a magnificent town. I mean, you've got so many things. You're here and we're here, and the youth club and the soccer and the Gaelic and the hurling, and they're all. Do you think? Because the parish is bigger now, and that's what I'm thinking for you. Maybe are people aware? And how do we get people aware?
They don't, because I don't even have a class in Dripperstown.
That's mad, Keith.
Don't have a class in Dripperstown.
That is just mad.
3 years, so I don't. I don't know whether the demand was there for it, but I've always said, like, way back, and it was always the same. It was always kind of like you would have got a few local people coming, then everybody that was coming to my class were from outside the parish. So they were, So I don't know whether it wasn't available. They thought it wasn't available or anything like that. My class originally was in the Hib Hall, so it was. And then I kind of moved from there because it was very dangerous for kids coming out onto that.
I get you.
Busy road.
Because it's a busy road.
Very busy road. Then I taught in the GA club. So that. But then again, there still could be people out there that haven't got a car that can walk up the straw up to the GA club.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like a 5 o'clock time of the evening. People are coming home from work. Maybe they didn't sit the time with.
Yeah.
But that was the time I had to do because I was going on into another class in Swatra.
Yeah.
So, but no, I haven't had a class now. About 3 years, maybe.
That's mad,
maybe.
I thought that you would be, this would be your sort of stronghold. But
you see, it's hard to get in anywhere to teach dancing because venues are always packed up.
Yeah.
And there is, as you say, there's an awful lot of other activities going on which people are going to send them to. I think Irish dance classes aren't expensive, but I think people look into Irish dance and say, oh God, you're not going to that, it's far too expensive. If you're good, you have to get a coach, you have to get this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. We can go to GA where it's free, and you can do that, and you can do this. Do you know that kind of music and stuff like that there?
Yeah.
So I do have kids in my class that are in everything.
Yeah.
And it seemed to kind of juggle it, but I know the mothers can say, oh God, I was running here and I was running there and running there. Because there is an awful lot nowadays to offer them.
And that's a good thing, isn't it?
Of course it's a good thing. Where back in the day there wasn't.
Yeah. And saying that there, like, do you think then that, like, we talked about the different groups in America and over here and all. Obviously they have a lot of sponsorship.
Yeah.
Is it something that?
Well, they sponsor for people to come. And I know even though with the Americans that our organisation over there that would be coming to the World Championships now. We're supposed to have our World Championships now in November.
Will that be in Dublin?
It's in Killarney.
Killarney.
Yeah. So they fundraise themselves to gather up for, because obviously all the class in America aren't coming. You only have a handful that would be eligible to come over. So they fundraise themselves. But that's expensive for people.
I would
'Cause you have
imagine
flights
so,
to
yeah.
do, you have accommodation
Yeah,
to do,
yeah.
you have to buy the rig out and everything else. And I mean, you're not going to come from Florida till Killarney for 2 nights.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a 2-week thing.
And it's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, and for I suppose, like anything, for you, it's the importance of keeping the tradition going.
Yeah.
I would imagine. And so, what kind of, because you mentioned there, like I know, like ourselves, you're probably mad hours. Do you work? I suppose during the day or midday or evenings, or what way is your work?
My class
structure?
would be start normally about 5 o'clock in the evening,
Yeah,
and then go right through to maybe 9,
yeah,
9:30, depending.
Do you
what's on.
stay in the same place, or do you shoot?
I have the same venues every week.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
so they come to me and they have to go to 2 classes a week.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. But depending, I've come up till a major championship, and that I could be there till maybe 10, half 10 on a night.
Yeah.
Just finishing off and getting them ready and stuff. And that would have been then when I would have been doing like Keeley dancing, team dancing and stuff like that.
Aye, well, what way does that work? We didn't mention anything about
No,
team dancing.
it's not happening now at the minute because you're not allowed to take hands.
Aye, yeah.
So you're not.
Well, that happened, obviously,
I don't know.
Will
if-
everybody have to come out with gloves
Well,
on or something?
I don't know because people I'm on the executive on for our organisation in Dublin, and they were saying, well, look, we couldn't run it with teams because you're not allowed to touch hands and you have to be 2 meters apart and you have to be this, that, and the other thing. But nowadays, like you're going into shops, you're sanitising your hands. You're not really 2 meters apart from the person that's in a shop.
Yeah.
So you could sanitise your hands before you go on the stage.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do and sanitize when you come off the stage.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big major deal.
It sounds like you're like ourselves in the creative world, that it seems to be that the creativity again is forgotten about.
Yeah.
That is an old tradition,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and that will be lost unless it comes back now, whenever. But it'll take a while because we have exams that we do with our dancers, and part of that exam is figured Keeley dancing.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it this year. So that had to be adapted, changed to suit the exam, where we just says, right, can you show me a movement in a figure dance? If the kids did
get
it.
you.
So they did it that way. But there's no touching hands or none of that. So
And-
I hope, because I was a big advocate for figure dancing. I've won many titles from my school.
I know you have,
Keeley
'cause
dancing and stuff.
yeah.
And I don't think it should be going.
And
I hope
was
it'll come back.
the Keeley dancing? Was it always alongside the
It was
Irish
always,
guy, the
yeah.
solo? Yeah.
It would always would have been.
I remember being up at the festivals, and you would always see that.
Yeah.
And
It was a big thing because, as like anything, and probably maybe the same in your business, not everyone can be a champion dancer,
Yeah.
or be a champion musician,
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah,
or singer, or
yeah.
whatever, Mickey. So the other kids out there love to be on a team,
Yeah.
because they have a chance of winning.
yeah, it's taking part.
Yeah, it's taking part, and it gives them that extra outlet as well,
And-
rather than doing solo dancing over doing a group dance, because you could do anything from a 4-hand reel up to a 16-hand dance.
Yeah.
And
them team ones, they seem to be older members, isn't that right?
Yeah.
You can go up to, what age would people go up to that?
The age groups are right. The Keeley dancing is over. At the Ulster, it's over 16. The World, it's under 18 and over 18.
Yeah.
So you could be anything up until a dancer of 22, 23 years of age.
Because remember,
and
Desmond
competes.
Martin had a great Keeley
Oh,
dance,
they
didn't
had. They had ones. There's a friend of mine who's a dancing teacher now from Newry, and he danced in Ulster Championships and team dancing. I'd say until he was in his 40s.
There you go.
If not even his early 50s.
But that's showing you can
You know.
keep at it.
It's an exercise. Keep you fit.
And what about you, Q? Will you keep teaching, or do you want to go into the adjudicating world, or you love
No,
the
well, I
teaching?
still keep teaching, and I still judge, and I'm also a grading examiner.
Yeah.
So
you're busy with all.
I'm busy with
and
those
you're
kind
on.
of things.
You're a part of the. I suppose you never thought in your day that you'd be part of the actual organisation, and they're guiding it.
No, because each branch, because we have branches throughout our organisation. So then in those branches, then you have a chairperson, you have a secretary, and you have a treasurer, and you have a PRO, and you have a delegate.
Yeah.
So I'm the delegate, and I'm vice chair at the minute. So it gives these teachers that, and I mean, I have put 11 dancers through their exam who've now qualified as teachers.
Wow.
So that are part of our branch. That we're
So
Mid-Ulster branch. So
You're strong.
it is. They'll continue on in their ears.
Yeah.
Do you know that
yeah.
kind of way? So
that's really good, but isn't it?
You need that.
And-
because I think if there's none of the teachers coming out, it's just going to you're there to stagnate. It's not going to go anymore.
It needs to keep going.
But again, this pandemic has stopped everything. It's even stopped exams and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we're coming out of it now, aren't we, Keith?
Yes.
And you're talking about your feast just up behind us, which is, would that be the first one in Ireland?
That's the first one in the north.
Yeah.
So there was one in Waterford last September. So there was. But this is the first one in the north since February 2020.
That's brilliant. So you're at the helm again. On the screen as usual, first out of the hockey.
It's the first out of the hockey to do. I was trying to get a venue.
Right.
That I could
a big enough one.
A big enough venue that I could run the competitions and give the children a platform. And normally I run my events are normally run in the Glenavon in Cookstown or in Balahi GA Hall because they have 2 halls back to back. But of course GA halls they're not open, so you couldn't get in. The hotel had to take weddings, which was their priority because that's their business. And then I was sitting on the house one day. I said, what about the back row now? I said, I wonder what. It's been years since I was in the back row. And so I rang up about it and they said, no, that's grand. And you have to, risk assessments have to be done and all this has to be done. And then I had got the entries were coming into me from 2 weeks ago. They closed yesterday. So I have 480 dancers, I think, that are entered to come to the competition.
That's huge.
And I'm thinking, so I'm only allowed 30 dancers at a time. So that would be 30 dancers and 30 parents, one parent per dancer.
Yeah.
Then the 3 judges in that hall, a musician, then the helpers. And I'm going, I never get through this in 2 days. So then I went up and asked if the new principal of the school could have used it there. So I'm using there to alleviate numbers and time-wise. So it's 2 venues running for 1 day.
So St. Columns?
St. Columns is on the Saturday morning. It'll only run for about 4 hours, and then the school's finished then, and then the rest finishes down here.
Brilliant. And so, what about the likes of now? What way do you see the future of Irish dancing? I
have a kind of in the back of a worry of my own about Irish dancing and the way that it's going, because the other guy that I did the podcast with there way back from Texas, he has asked me the same question, and he says, do you like the modern stuff that's now coming into dancing? Yeah. And I says, look, as a judge, I have to sit and judge what comes out in front of me.
Yeah.
I says, I teach modern stuff in my class. I says, but to me, I'm very much a traditionalist. I says, where I like rhythm and everything like that. I says, now there's new things coming into Irish dancing. It's kind of like tap dancing. There was ballet stuff come in. There was like the skater turns that they have, ice skaters have, and those kind of things. They turn, 360s or whatever they are. And it's kind of like, where will we end up?
Is it, you think, describing all them things sounds very contemporary? You know, that there's...
Well, it has. It's got that way. Yeah. So it has. But it's just...
Is there any control over that, you know?
Well, the only control over that would be if somebody comes out just like everything else. If somebody come out and won a major championship just doing the basic trebles and stuff like that there and dancing, which mine have been doing, people will follow suit. Yeah. But I think it's an influx and an influence from, we'll say, from America. Because the commission was always first.
Do you think it's because they're growing up in different cultures?
I think so, because they're taking stuff in. And then you have the shows like Riverdance, that they had their show where they had the Irish dancing, and then they had the tap dancing ones from America come into that there, and then they had the flamenco and everything else. So people are trying, which is good to see something different coming in. But don't take it too far from what it's meant to be. Yeah. That's my thing. And he says, well, if you were judging somebody came out and did the tap dance, and I says, look, as long as it's done properly.
So you're open to it?
Oh, I'm absolutely open. And I do teach.
Yeah, but you don't want it going too far away.
You don't want us to take it away from its
origins.
Wouldn't even, wouldn't even recognise it.
Well, as I say, I suppose with your organisation and the way you're structured, I don't think that'll happen overnight.
No, we are very traditionalist.
Yeah, and do you ever meet in the middle, the other group and yourselves, or is it like this sort of, I'm the clan of the McKenna clan, and these guys are in our clan?
The only face that we ever would meet at would be face Derrycullen in Derry.
Right. So, is this like is this a tribal, like a real?
Well, you'd have.
Is there love in the room, or is it respect, or is it just, why aren't we just one organisation?
No, people have asked, why are we not one organisation? Well, first of all, now at this stage, it's too big to go to one organisation because the numbers that they would have. No, not even the fact that just the numbers, Paddy, that would be competing. I mean, the Commission World Championships run for a week, ours runs for a week,
Yeah.
join the two together, you'd have to have 2 weeks, like, and people don't have that time, and then it would have to be another big qualifying event to be able to go. But no, like in dairy fish, and I love going to dairy fish. Actually, I was to judge it when the pandemic came in. So that it was one of my things that I would love to have done, was to judge dairy fish, because the two organisations come together.
Brilliant. You can see where
So
it's at now.
Yeah. And I can sit and I can say, well, yeah, because I'm from Munkogel doesn't mean to say I like you, but I love this commission one, so I'm going to give her first, because if she done what I liked, that kind of way. So it does. My dancing days when we did dairy fish with the commission, that it was hostile.
Was it?
They were booing and everything else.
No way.
Oh, they were. It was mad then, but it was good at the time. Like, it was good crack, but it was hostile.
And so I'm sure to have a victory in that at them days.
Absolutely, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
So it was, and then they had, because you had two judges. You had a judge from our organisation, a judge for their organisation, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, well, he's going to give to the commission one, and he's going to give to the Cogo ones." But no, that never worked that way. They judged what they saw.
It's what you were.
It was the audience didn't agree with it.
Yeah, well,
everything else.
And there's one thing I'm sure with any parents, to be queer vocal. I'm sure your own are vocal. Isn't that what it's about? You expect that?
Well, I would expect that, but I said, like, do not be letting yourself down, or let me down either.
But Q, is there anything else within your world that you would like to add? Like, I remember we were on about Mr. Kerrigan down in the furniture store.
Yeah.
I remember you down. You're all you guys beside me, Aunt Angela's.
Yeah, that's right.
Ulster. And it's now Sperrin Electronics. Is right. And your father worked there.
He worked there, and then he had the thing, and then there was another furniture shop then come in there too. So, but yeah, he was like he was like Seamus Kerrigan was an auctioneer as well.
Yeah.
So he was, and then he sold furniture and stuff like that, and just like his dancing, he was like cutthroat in his businesses. But it was naturally,
he was a businessman.
It was a business, and that was what he had to do, and stuff. But yeah, he came. Like, I used to have to go with him on a Saturday morning to Oma to the class. Hated it.
Yeah.
Because I'd been out all week at the class, and then I get up on Saturday morning and go, do I have to go like again? But I went, and it was an all day affair. Like, he taught dancing class from 11 o'clock until 6 o'clock that evening.
It's a long haul, Q.
Yeah. And all weathers.
Wow.
Snow going over that mountain, over Toma, going over that, and snow and everything. And he taught right up until he took unwell, still teaching. So he was still driving the classes and stuff like that.
And he must have produced some great dancers over the years.
He produced many and many and many, a champion in solo dancing and team dancing.
He was like the Simon Cowell of Irish dancing.
He was. And then like that, he did trips as well. He met the Pope. He took dancers to meet the Pope.
No way.
Yeah.
When was that, Keelan? Or was that
That
down
was
in
the
Pope,
70s.
Ireland, no? Or
no, he went to Rome.
No way.
So he did, yeah. Do you remember Joe Shivers? Remember Joe Shivers? He was from Castle Dawson. He played the accordion.
Yes.
He went with him to play the music for the dancers. And
he drove the lorry.
He drove a lorry. That's right.
That's right.
He went with him to play the music and stuff like that. And then that's where they went. They met the Pope to dance for the Pope. And then he did other places like Bergen and all those places as well. So
looking at that there, I mean, Irish dancing from Ballinascreen has been on the world stage many times.
Of course.
I mean, you were in one side of the world, then Mr. Kerrigan at the Pope, and you know, and that's amazing.
And it is an outlet for Irish dance that you maybe have the chance to tour a world. Like, you take the shows now, the people that were in those shows. That were in Lord of Dancing and Riverdance.
You had some people you knew in them.
Damien O'Neill was in, started off in Lord of Dancing, there was in Riverdance.
Damien was from Macrafelt.
From Macrafelt, yeah.
And so he was your student?
Yeah.
And how did that feel for you to have somebody on the world stage?
He went in 1996 or 97, was it? I think it was 97 maybe. And he was kind of coming to the end of his dancing career.
Wow.
So they did that. I also had the chance of auditioning for Riverdance in 96, and I was at the All Ireland Championships in Cork when I got the phone call. I rang home to my mother and she said, "Oh, look, phone here, you were to..." I go, "Yeah, I'm in." It was the audition was in Derry, said I.
Yeah,
but I was in Cork, so I didn't do it, and it didn't happen at the time. It was too late for me because I was teaching. So I wouldn't have actually given up my teaching to go on a tour thing, much as I would have loved it.
Because you'd done a bit of a tour.
I'd done a bit of tour, and
you would have probably done pretty well at the audition, Q.
Well, I possibly would, because they were like, and at that time it was all good dancers that were getting into the shows.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. They're just taking dancers, and there's, and they obviously the training
Because
up.
like any of them shows that have great impact, it's always the best at the start, isn't it?
Oh, it says like anything. I mean, I went to see both shows at the beginning, and I didn't like Riverdance, loved Lord of the Dance, and I think then now in the last few years it's changed.
Yeah,
love Riverdance.
Yeah,
for the simple fact, traditional kind of thing in it.
Yeah.
The other one to me is tacky. So
the other one is, I suppose, trying to capture every foot movement of every style of, from different dances around the world.
And they're taking things. They're great shows.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic shows. And great opportunity for people to get into shows and stuff. And Irish dancing, like music, I think, you can carry that with you throughout your life.
Yeah. And what about young Damien then? Did he continue?
He teaches. Yeah. He has a school of his own as well. He's also now an adjudicator as well. So that's it really makes me feel old. And a couple other teachers of mine are now adjudicators. And I'm going, yeah, I need to get out of this job. I'm getting too old now.
You're all right.
But I don't know what I would do if I did leave it.
But it's your blood and it's your love and it's a passion. And you mentioned earlier on there what people should be aware of. It's about giving a platform to young people. You mentioned that just earlier on. And I think that's the most important thing, because you've been in this game so long, through thick and thin, snow and ice, as you say, and everything. You had great commitment from your parents and Mr. Kerrigan as well. He's seen the talent in you, and I don't think you can just disappear. See something that's in you, it's well hard to.
Of course it is. Absolutely.
To take
that's
away.
why I see, as a teacher, and I see ones that I know that could be very good, and they just decide, no, I'm giving up and whatever. And I'm going, why? It's a waste of a talent.
You see it, and
continue it on, even if you don't want to do competition wise. Continue it.
Yeah, and like obviously you would have other people that continued on. Would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And where would the biggest sort of movement at the minute be for Irish dancing? Which town, or is it a city thing, or?
No, because it's actually around every townland you would go to. There's a dancing teacher in some GA club.
There you go.
In the country. It has got so big. Like at the time, as I say, when I started dancing, you only had Seamus Kerrigan, Patricia McSwiggan, Una McGuigan. May Allen would have been one as well around the South Derry area and Antrim area, she would taught. Then you had Eugene Smith came in as well to start teaching in Marfell.
Was he a guy that you danced against?
He was he's Eugene's older than me.
Older than you?
Yeah, he's older than me.
Yeah.
But then they had classes. Then they had they
produced teachers
who are starting to go out, and then they're producing. So it's a cycle.
But it sounds like a very positive cycle, you know.
Oh, it does. I mean, and there is there's not about say 7 or 8 years ago, I had a massive school. I had a massive school of Irish dancing. So I had. But then everything else they grow up. And they go out and they go do their own thing. Maybe some of them might keep up dancing, some of them might not bother doing dancing and stuff like that. So it goes around. But no, I think it's great. It's a great tradition to have, and as I say, it's easy carried. You never lost it. Once you've learned it, you'll be able to do. Seamus Kerrigan used to say to us in classes, learn your Irish dance, he says, because you never know what part of the world you're going to end up at. And if you're like in America and they all love the Irish people coming over and they say, can you do Irish dance? You can get up and do a jig.
But he's right.
Absolutely
he's right. And you can see it all over the place. Isn't that what people love? That I suppose it's that culture, it's that tradition. And you have been a great attribute to that. I didn't know any stories about you travelling around the world like a rock and roll star and having to eat.
If only, Paddy.
Having to eat.
If only.
And no, people should know that, and I think they will know it now after this.
Well, it was a great experience, and it was like somewhere I would have never been.
It's a brilliant thing.
Like you don't decide one day wake up and say, "God, I think I'll go to North Korea for a week."
I know, but you couldn't write the script there, could you?
No,
us sitting, us sitting in the columns, and
I do nothing. Do absolutely nothing.
But that's amazing. But so for any young person out there, for yourself, like how do they make contact with McKenna School of Dance?
Well, they have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
So they have, or they could just look up the number or whatever else. If they want to get in contact, they want to start a class, or they want to come to a class somewhere. I mean, the nearest distribution I teach at the minute would be in Desert Martin. But again, the GA club is not open.
A great tradition out there for the Irish dancing over the years.
So there is. So they can get through the Facebook page.
Yeah.
So, that happened
So
from Hugh McKenna School of Irish Dancing.
Hugh McKenna School of Irish Dancing. You've been a fantastic guest, Hugh.
No, tall enjoyed it, Paddy.
And
reminiscing over years. And stuff like.
And we'll not tell half the stories that people shouldn't hear.
No, definitely not. The ones we keep for ourselves.
I was in wee flashbacks there about some of them. You know, there was one in a certain Mrs. Such and Such's class.
I was talking about that there not so long ago.
Oh my God, Hugh.
So was it was hilarious that day.
So we've had our moments of crisis.
We've
had our moments of crisis, and I had a wee flashback of that the other day too. You've been a brilliant guest, Hugh. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us.
It was informative and everything. So
it was brilliant, and as I say, it's always great talking to people on the Small But Massive podcast, and having you, Hugh McKenna, talking to me today was magnificent. So all I can say is, I should say we get these out, Hugh. We're doing a wee series of ones, and they'll all come out at the same time, and you'll get a lessons. And I don't think there's anything incriminating, any libel that's going to hit us, apart from the your food, a lot of wee rennies and a bit
of to be grand, a
bit of heartburn juice. Yeah. But thanks very much, Hugh, and all the best in the future. And you've been a great guest. Cheers to you. I want to ask one thing. I always say to people, and you're the first one ever, Q, that actually can dance, right? I always say to people, there's a wee bit on that floor there where people go up and dance. I have attempted to go out the side and dance with them, but I'm pure shit at it, right? So we're hoping, I don't know if you can dance a couple of wee moves for us without music.
I could surely.
Right? And for Tierney, just to capture it, if we let him set it up. Tierney, or Nathan, did you get any wee Irish jig music set up? No? Oh, I see, I forgot it. So
I could just do a cappella.
Do you know the wee one? Is that one?
A jig, yeah.
Is it? We know that. A jig, right? So I should say at this stage, we can't get one of the best dancers ever in this area to come and not to dance. I would love to say that I would dance as well with him, but to be honest, it would be shameful. Never mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hum in the background and hope that I'm humming the right fucking tune to Q.
Hopefully I'll be able to stay in time.
Hopefully I'm humming it right.
After me talking about time.
I'm going to find an Irish dancing jig. Tierney, are you in the phone now?
I might have one on my own phone.
Have you?
Like an Irish dance teacher should have music on their phone.
If you want, I'll stick the mic on.
Do you know what I mean?
We have one, Nathan. Let me see.
I have to check up.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I would need to have one that will go for an over 50s.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a super duper, super fast feet. Yes, super flame feet. He is Hugh McKenna, School of Flames. That's the man. We all right, Dirty?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Are you all right, Keith?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, boy. There's a flag going on in here, Nathan.
You able to hear that?
I'll take it up. Where is he, Keith? Hold on, I see. Is that all right, Nathan? All right. So, welcome to the fly. Yeah! Flies over, you all missed it, good people. Thank you, King. That was brilliant.